That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the Road to El Dorado Retrospective podcast. This thing has been a long time coming, Dragon. This is definitely one for the bucket list, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
And folks, we've had a long month of September going through probably one of the most rocky retrospective months we've ever been through with BluthTember, the sequel. Am I right, Dragon?
Oh, yeah.
BluthTember, the sequel, was just it was just man, it was a wild ride. It was just kind of a roller coaster of different, like, you and I had different opinions on different movies, but then we had the low of lows of the Troll in Central Park, which was just horrendous. Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that I liked. Like, honestly, the biggest takeaway of BluthTember for me was The Pebble and the Penguin isn't terrible. It's not a bad movie. It's not, it's not great, but it's not bad. It's got a lot of stuff I like about it. And Titan AE is definitely holds up, is flawed but ambitious in my eyes. But yeah, other than that, I mean, BluthTember has just been kind of a wild ride. But now we get to the Road to El Dorado, which, Dragon, this is the epilogue. This is kind of our reward for getting through BluthTember.
Yes, because we kind of had a realization that, you know what, even though, I mean, it's within the same year and we need the boost, we need we've been through so much. I mean, such a mixed bag. We need the ultimately break glass in case of emergency pick-me-up.
So here we go. The trail we blaze, my friend, and also 20-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So, oh God, Dragon, nostalgia. Where do I begin?
I know.
Like, oh, holy shit. Dragon, rewatching this movie was just surreal because I really haven't sat down and watched this movie all the way through since I was a kid. I've watched clips on YouTube. Like, I've seen some of the songs on YouTube. Certainly the trail we blaze I've watched a few times. I have not sat down and watched this whole movie, but Dragon, I gotta tell you, just literally like every single detail just kind of came pouring back to me. Man, this was a nostalgia trip for me. So this came out probably right around the time I was in 4th or 5th grade. So it was, I would say it's definitely one of the animated movies that it was easily the first Dreamworks movie that I really got attached to. And I think to this day, it's maybe the best Dreamworks movie that's ever been made. I mean, I just think it set a precedent for their 2D animation that sadly never really got off the ground. And I just think, like, everything about this movie, from just the fluid animation, the characters, the soundtrack is glorious, and we'll talk about it. But the soundtrack, absolutely, I honestly think the Elton John soundtrack in this kind of puts the Phil Collins soundtrack, as good as it is, to shame in terms of like how well it works into the movie. Let's see. We have Lunar Moonflower here saying #facts. Lunar, I assume you're talking about our praise for the movie. So yeah, definitely. I mean, Dragon. I mean, this thing. I owned it on VHS. I watched it over and over. I know that my cousins and I also just totally just were in love with it. I mean, this was maybe one of the very last animated films that I truly got into. This, Emperor's New Groove, of course, Lilo and Stitch, but that's a whole different personal thing. But really, it comes down to, this was like pre-Lord of the Rings, the 1 year before Lord of the Rings. And once Lord of the Rings came out, I got much more into like the blockbusters of it all. I got much more into like Lord of the Rings, Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean, like I kind of went in a different trajectory, and the animated films at that time, like the Brother Bears of it all, didn't really hit my interest too much. And I wasn't even that big of a Shrek fan, if I'm telling you the truth, but that's a different story. But Road to El Dorado, man, it's just I just think it's a near perfect movie. It's just absolutely flawless in its execution. Like I said, the songs, the characters, the animation is gorgeous. Maybe some of the CGI is mixed a little weird, but that's kind of a product of literally every animated movie of the time. But other than that, man, it's just a it's a great story. It's a story with a lot of depth and dimension to it. It's a lot more adult than what Disney would put out, which I think makes it stand out as distinctly DreamWorks. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I tell you, okay. This is where you do the bucket list thing for me here. So, Road to El Dorado is probably my favorite DreamWorks film, along with Megamind. I mean, it's in the top 5, no question, of like all the DreamWorks movies. I mean, you probably factor in like which ones of Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, but again, take a couple of those and you put Megamind and Road to El Dorado in there. That's the list, man.
Mm.
I have very nostalgic ties to this film. I mean, deep nostalgic ties. This movie was like the best HBO movie memory I had. Remember, folks, before we have HBO Max that we have today, go way, way back. I'm talking way back, kids, to like back when HBO would have like a movie coming on, as they tend to do very casually now. It's like, hey, 8 o'clock on Saturday, there's a new HBO movie. I'm talking way back in the day. It's like it was an event when this happened, and if you were in the know, it's like, okay, I'm gonna VHS tape this. Back before you could DVR anything, back before you could record anything or just like watch it on demand, it would just kind of premiere on there. And I recorded this on the VHS tape, and I would rewatch that thing so many times. Love this movie. My friends and I, when eventually I met some friends who also, like, when I kind of realized, oh, these guys have also seen The Road to El Dorado, we would quote lines like crazy. As a kid, I loved this movie, and I finally found someone else like, oh my god, we basically quote the entire like sword scene.
Mm-hmm.
Whole loaded dice montage. I mean, again, like it's one of the movies you commit to memory. It's so much fun. I mean, I adore the movie. I mean, how much I love Kevin Kline, and this is a large part of why. I mean, I've always loved him as Tullio. I mean, I adore the character Tullio. I think deep down because I am Tullio without the ponytail. I really am. Say positive or negative, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like I just felt such a connection with the Tullio character. That's the thing. The voice cast is incredibly funny. They're great. The animation's marvelous. The designs are lush. Just everything just kind of comes together wonderfully for this film. I mean, I remember the other really cool thing about El Dorado I kind of found out years later in school was a couple of years like after seeing the movie and when I go to school they covered the whole Cortez thing in school. I felt like so stupefied, like, oh my god, I kind of saw this already. Oh my, like the whole Mayan, the Aztec thing, and then the Cortez, the tragedy of the Cortez thing. It's like, oh my god, it took such a left turn in real life, didn't it?
All right, so
go ahead. Yeah, go on.
No, anything else?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say again. Yeah, real quick, just again, it's a love letter to the '40s buddy comedies, for sure. And to see that animated right is truly special. It's the con men with the heart of gold story. It's an adventure movie. They simply don't make them like this anymore. Tiki, they just don't make them like this anymore. And 20 years later, it still brings a smile on my face. Just wonderful.
Absolutely. All right, so just going through some comments. Let's see. Is this your favorite animated musical movie? That's a big favorite anime. I mean, it's up there. Certainly one of the best non-Disney ones, to be sure. But I mean, as far as Disney goes, you got some heavy hitters there, so I'm not willing to commit to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Because again, like the whole musical thing is because again, Disney provides a lot of competition. Because I mean, Aladdin kind of comes to mind. Certainly, I mean, there's a lot to pick from. But I mean, again, non-Disney, you'd be hard pressed. Definitely out of DreamWorks' films, no question. Mind you, not exactly the musical bunch.
Right. Let's see. Jacob Weil says one of the few good 2D DreamWorks movies.
Yes. Well, Prince of Egypt is also amazing.
Well, yeah, and Claude Kringa points that out.
And Jacob said he has yet to see Prince of Egypt.
Jacob, what are you doing? Get on that. Come on now.
Kicks the ever-loving crap out of Sinbad, I'll tell you that much.
Lunar Moonflower says my sister and I would quote the sword scene too. So you got some good company there, Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Let's see, and I guess that's it. But yeah, I don't know, Dragon. It's interesting. I have not seen Sinbad, so I wouldn't know.
I watched it once, but I never came back to it for good reason. It didn't really land at all. It just felt like, eh. I mean, maybe I find a little bit. I have to give it another fair watch, to be honest. It's just really forgettable to me.
Gotcha. I think one of my I don't remember which YouTuber it was, but one of them came out with a good video essay about Sinbad, kind of arguing it is one of the better pirate movies that we've gotten. So I kind of want to revisit it.
That's what I'm saying. It's definitely worth revisiting just to give it a fair shake. But I'll admit probably that compared to my personal distaste for the Spirit Stallion, the Cimarron movie. So I can't really.
Spirit, yeah.
I got issues with Spirit, but that's just.
I don't have nearly as many issues with Spirit as you do.
I'll admit they're not real. I don't think they're fair issues. I'm just saying, I just don't. Like throwing my hands in the air with Spirit and the fact that it's come back in like a DreamWorks show. I don't get it. And yes, it's on Hulu.
Well, that's not again. You can't hold the original movie to that, though. I think the original movie's fine.
That's what I'm saying. I throw my hands up to the original movie, and then just like the fact that it continued to have gotten a show is just like beyond me. Like, wait, what? You're giving this a show?
Right. I also saw Spirit in theaters, Jacob, and I honestly think the best part about Spirit is that it's definitely a big screen movie. I mean, it's a very sweeping animated movie. I don't like the fact that it's narrated the whole time. That's definitely the thing that kills the pace of it. But I mean, just in terms of the scale, it's pretty impressive, I think. All right. Let's see. Okay, so Dragon, is that all for your background?
Well, that was my thesis. I have some background.
Oh, thesis, yeah, right. Okay, Dragon, well, you do your background because I pretty much know what it is. I'm going to go downstairs and get a cup of coffee because I'm kind of feeling it, okay?
Right.
I'll be right back. All right.
Okay, all right, so a little background story, kids. All right, so Jeffrey Katzenberg had a few ideas that he brought to DreamWorks, much like Prince of Egypt. And he had like some ideas kind of brewing, kind of pulling from kind of the odds and ends of history in a regard that Disney would never touch with a 10-foot pole. So he takes Prince of Egypt, which they kind of shot down before, and kind of the Cortez and the Mayan story, essentially, which was this. So this developed, and some of this, again, Katzenberg's a bit of an unreliable narrator, so I can't 100% guarantee this. From what he said, they basically developed the idea of, like, let's take the sidekicks you'd probably find in a Disney movie, or just like the sidekicks in a comedy, in an animated feature, and basically what if we just kind of made them the stars of the film and did an homage like the Hope and Crosby, Road to movies. In this case, like what if Hope and Crosby was like a road to the city of gold, as it were. So, and speaking of Prince of Egypt, it was the big project going on there. Remember, this was supposed to be their big first splash, and despite Bug's Life, they moved ants up first. So that's kind of what happened there. So the point is, Prince of Egypt, it was the big production, the big 2D production that was kind of getting most of the animators. So it led to this being delayed and getting some rewrites. And over the years, like there was some change in directors. It's actually been rumored, and again, this is what I'm talking about, unreliable narrator. It's said that Jeffrey Katzenberg, he co-directed the film, but I don't know if I buy that. But the point being, Katzenberg may or may not have co-directed the film. It adds to my further kind of frustration of Jeffrey Katzenberg as an interesting person, because again, he's done some bad things, but he's had some good ideas. This might have been one of the good idea categories for him. I don't know. He made it happen, so I'll give him a point on that one anyway. So the writers on this, you have kind of a writing pair. You got Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. Sorry. Now these guys together, they've done Shrek, did Treasure Planet, did Small Soldiers, did Aladdin. A lot of slam dunks, you can probably tell. So they're going as per an anime movie, going on a research trip. They went to Mexico for the Mesoamerican, kind of Mayan cities of it all. My brother's Garcia of them.
All right, I'm back.
Okay. Let's see. So, of course, Jeffrey Katzenberg pulled his trump card on this one with Elton John and Tim Rice in the music department.
Katzenberg!
Yeah, Katzenberg.
All right.
Oh, the ongoing Katzenberg of it. That's what I'm saying. Katzenberg had the ultimate screw you to Disney and bringing like, hey, remember the biggest success I had a part of? I'm bringing them back. Elton John, Tim Rice. I'm pulling them on this. I know we don't have as many animators as we put on Prince of Egypt, but you know what? We're gonna do. We're gonna make do, and we're gonna bring in the big guns musically. We're gonna do that. So I wish there was a happy ending to this story, kids, but unfortunately, well, there's a happy ending years and years later. So tragically, this thing bombed badly, lost like 20 million. It was sad.
Yeah, that's a shame.
But became a cult classic. Everyone loves it. I mean, you ask anyone who's seen the movie, you're not going to hear really a bad thing about it. It's just the critics turn their noses up at it, and then financially didn't do well. 2000, honestly, if you really look at 2000, was not the year for animated movies, with the exception of one. But even so, I don't think financially it did well. Emperor's New Groove. That's what I'm saying. I think that was.
I think it did okay. I don't think it was like a runaway hit or anything.
That's what I'm saying. So the point being is like that was like might have been the most remarkable of 2000, but even then, went under the radar. So also there was always speculated they're planning some sequels, and Miguel and Tulio going to other places looking for other treasures, which never came to fruition because the movie did so bad financially. So there were plans for more.
So that kind of links into Claude's question. How would you feel about a Road to El Dorado live-action remake? Claude, no. Don't give DreamWorks any ideas. I swear to God, I've had it up to here with the Disney live-action remakes. I'm long since past finding them an interesting experiment. I'm sick of them. And at this point, I'm so cynical about them that I'm just calling that we're going to get like a remake of Alice in Wonderland in like 10 years, even though there's already been a remake of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, let me tell you what we should do with the Road to El Dorado. It'd be nice.
We need to do just a straight up sequel, like Netflix style.
Well, that's better than what I was going to say, but yes. Yes, I was going to suggest let's just re-release. Well, now I've now realized what year we're living in right now. But I was saying let's after all the times Beauty and the Beast has been released and Nightmare Before Christmas over the years, let's give the Road to El Dorado a re-release. But your idea is a lot better. I like that better. Let's explore one of those sequels. Do it on Netflix. Which again, DreamWorks and Netflix have kind of an arrangement going these days. Let's do it.
Exactly. Let's see. Jacob is also pointing out that Disney did Pirates, and Katzenberg kind of stole that for Sinbad.
Figures. Again, it's like one step forward, two steps back with old Katzenberg.
Oh God! Oh, Dragon, did you know about this?
Yeah, it was the topic of conversation on the live show tonight.
Okay, Claude, I will give you one thing. All right. If they're going to do a sequel, then it's not going to be a beat-by-beat fucking, Gus Van Sant Psycho remake, all right? And two, I think Barry Jenkins is an interesting director choice. So, as of right now, I hate to say this, Dragon, I really hate to say this, but because Barry Jenkins is such an interesting director, I'm kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt. Right now. I don't see how it could be any worse than the first one. I'll say that. All right.
Tiki,
oh, sorry, Jacob.
You're out of your mind. They said they're going to try.
What?
You're out of your mind, Tiki. They said they're going to try to do Godfather Part 2 with this.
Oh, God. Whatever.
God, they're trying to make the live-action Lion King.
Look, Dragon, all I'm saying is that Barry Jenkins is an interesting director. All right? That's all I'm saying. I'm
sorry, didn't everyone say that with Jon Favreau on The Lion King in the first place?
I think Barry Jenkins is more appropriate for The Lion King than Favreau is. All right.
Anyway.
Allow me to have my sick dreams, Dragon.
Yeah, you're sick.
You know what? I'm looking forward to the Aladdin sequel too, honestly.
Not even gonna do King of Thieves. It's just
well, they're not gonna do King of Thieves, but I'm still looking forward. Again, with the sequels, it's like with Aladdin, they have a decent cast. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can come up with. Anyway.
All right. All All right. So that's all the background I got. So again, became a cult, got a cult following. Things worked out years and years later, and again, maybe some room to grow in the future. Who knows? Anyway.
All right. Okay, so let's start with Act One, Spain.
Yeah, gonna go over some of the nostalgic highlights of it all here, folks. So we're in Spain. Let's talk about the stars of our picture here, Miguel and Tulio, the wonderful Kenneth Branagh.
Can we also just quickly acknowledge how awesome the opening song in this movie is?
Yes, it is. It's a great. If you need a song with the name of the movie in it, look no further, folks. This this El Dorado establishing song.
Well, it's a great kind of pick me up song, Dragon. I feel like it's kind of song like you play in the morning to get you pumped up and awake. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like the whole soundtrack is kind of like that.
It is. I mean, again, the soundtrack it's quite it is kind of like better Phil Collins if you wanted like a quick analogy for it. It is.
I really feel like it. Yeah, I mean, and not to diss Phil, to diss Phil Collins on Brother Bear, but Phil Collins on Tarzan. Dragon, you and I are big Tarzan fans, so
I defend Tarzan with the whole.
Yeah, I do too. I love Tarzan.
I love the
Brother Bear, not so much, but.
I mean, I will fight anyone about Strangers Like Me and Tarzan.
Oh my God! Oh, don't get me sick. To paraphrase nostalgia critic, who's talking shit about strangers like me? You better not be talking shit about strangers like me.
All right. All right. Okay. Anyway, so back to let's talk Miguel and Tulio.
Yes. Just oh my God, what a wonderful combination of characters, Dragon. The con, the loaded dice con at the beginning of the movie, followed by the sword trick. It's honestly one of the best introductions to a pair of characters I've seen in Dragon. I'm going to make a really bold statement here. Not just animation. It's maybe one of the best character introductions I've ever seen, period. Just because of how efficient it is at like showing us these two guys, their different philosophies, their different ways about going about things, and how they work together. It's so efficient.
Yeah, they're the charismatic con men with the loaded dice. I mean, you're right. It is a perfect introduction. One's a dreamer, one's a schemer, and they basically like the two sides of Jimmy McGill. Practically, it's kind of how these guys are.
Right.
And again, Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline, just so amazing together.
Oh my God! And Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline, they're not like. They're both wonderful actors, but they're not necessarily people that you would be like, oh, we gotta book them in an animated feature. You know what I mean? Like they're not like
you wouldn't really think
names, you know?
You wouldn't like go like. And again, you kind of missed this, but earlier again, I was trying to draw on the point. They were looking for who gave the comedy sidekicks, like your Abbott and Costello in a 40s in a 40s comedy. The real estate for a movie. What if you put them in the lead, took the sidekick characters and made them the leads of your movie, which is so unconventional for that time and works so well here. And again, it is like a Hope and Crosby dynamic.
I really feel like it's one of the last animated films that truly embraces. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's other animated films that do that after this, but it's one of the last really big ones that truly embraces the whole like let's not cast for celebrity, let's cast for the character of it all.
Exactly. And you know what really helps with the character too? They did something really rare. Rarely ever happens today. They recorded together for the majority of the film. Like the whole sword scene, the whole like loaded dice gambit, that is entirely them in a room together improvising and doing fun stuff together.
Sure.
So, of course, Miguel, the bit that kind of speaks to who these guys are is Miguel going for the map to El Dorado. That just says all about the duo there, where Miguel's like, Tulio, this, think about it here. He loves the idea of the adventure and like, oh, it's a city goal, the impersuadable con, where Tulio's like, about like the immediate kind of like, no, we want to win the money here. Let's not go for the crappy map. But of course, the fencing escape is fantastic. Perfect dialogue and banter. Again, also sets up Act 3 really well, and you go back to it. Again,
also classic Ted Elliott, Terry Rousseau, because it feels very much like a Pirates of the Caribbean scene.
As Jacob said earlier.
Yeah.
And again, I think some of my favorite lines, it's like, you fight like my sister. I fought your sister. That's a compliment. Let the blade do the talking. I'll be loquacious to a fault.
Oh God, yeah. I can't quote it as much as you can, Dragon. But rest assured, it's great dialogue. All right. So let's see. Like I said, just genuinely, I just love this. All this stuff in Spain, just because it sets up the character so well. It's a classic kind of starting point for a Road 2 movie. Every Road 2 movie needs a good starting point, and this is it.
Yes, yes. Like we see, we see the plans and operations comment versus the the improv and the and the kind of like the guy goes with his gut sort of thing, which obviously pays off later on when we see like how it kind of works in the highly improvised situation of El Dorado.
Mhm.
And again, we also establish with all these fun shenanigans, we establish very firmly they're clever, but they're not gods by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm in love with the friendship and the history of these guys already. It was like from this opening, it works in every way imaginable.
Mhm.
Okay, so perhaps we should talk about the guy who, again, traditionally would be the actual star of the story had it been told in a not so fun way.
Yeah, Cortez. It's so interesting what they do with him.
Yeah.
In terms of just making him like, the primary. I think that he's almost kind of like an external threat more than he is a primary villain. You know what I mean?
He is, because one way of Jim. I like that we have Jim Cummings in a lead role like this, which at the time was really rare. I mean, now it's a little bit commonplace. But yeah, Jim Cummings as this. By the way, if you notice, very Orson Welles-esque Cortez.
Right.
Modeled after Orson Welles. It kind of sounds like how Orson Welles would play it. I don't know. So I love that we kind of turned our quote unquote, very deep quotes, folks, hero of the screwed up version of the story that happened into the proper, again, like antagonist or at least obstacle. Threat, definitely a threat.
Sure.
And again, it's like the history versus the fun fiction, where again, it's making a case for, well, it goes like this. Let's go in like the fun, optimistic direction that we now know in history. Like, no, it was horrible what Cortez did. Let's reimagine things here. And again, like the adventure, he embodies the adventure and the conquest, but without any of the charm.
Absolutely.
So they're going to claim this land in the name of Spain, which is what his whole shtick was. But the important role of Cortez is that his horse I love that his horse is more important than Cortez.
Right. And the horse is just one of the great animated horses, Dragon. I mean, he's up there with like Maximus from Tangled, or just one of the best. One of the, like, I would say on the Mount Rushmore of animated horses.
Absolutely.
Just so much expression, so much character. You know exactly what he's thinking every moment he's on screen.
I love that he's not on the same level of Maximus in terms of like the smart animated horse. It's that he's clever than you expect.
It's just that he's very expressive.
He is, and it's like he's cleverer than you expect, but he still jumps overboard for the apple. Right,
exactly, yeah.
And of course, I mean, the whole pry bar gag is priceless. Miguel, he's not gonna know what pry bar is. He's a horse. It says, it's not a pry. He just drops the keys. It's still not a pry bar. So, I mean, I love Tulio. I love the planning running gag and how that comes back. I just love how he's kind of gone mad in the isolation in the little kind of little stowaway cell of the boat. And he says, okay, so we take we take some provisions and we get a longboat and we row back to Spain. He says, good plan. I like it. One question. How do we get out of the cell? Okay, so we take some provisions and a longboat. It's like, okay, fine, you come up with a plan. So there's a lot of fun there. Of course, then we have now a trio. We take the duo to a trio with the horse, and they're lost at sea, and just a lot of hopeless gags.
Yeah, can I just say the animation on the waves is very impressive and probably the best CGI in the movie.
Sure, yeah.
All right.
The shark gag is priceless too. Like apparently in test screenings, this gag went over big. Where like there's like see that seagull landing on the thing, it just like goes up Jaws style. I'm like, just the patheticness. We make they get patheticness conveyed so well and so funny.
Oh yeah.
Love the sand gag too. They're saying their final goodbyes and like it's really sweet to me. I love how LT was rolling his eyes like the melodrama of it all. I'm just like you made my life rich, Tulio, and you made my life an adventure, Miguel. It's like, oh god. And then they find the sand, they're saved, and then they're kissing a skull. Like, oh god.
The kissing the skull thing always was really memorable to me as a kid.
Yep. Now, Miguel, another one of those character affirming bits here, where Miguel is going back to that map, which is really hard to animate, by the way, because that was a CG map in the 2D character's hands, so getting it consistent was a nightmare. We established Tulio wants gold, Miguel wants adventure, and of course Miguel's like pitching like, "Hey, El Dorado, we can find it. You drank the seawater, didn't you? I love that. You drank the seawater."
All right, and that leads us into the trail we blaze, which, oh dear God, Dragon. I mean, how many adjectives can we use to describe how amazing this montage is?
It's very jaunty. It's just a jaunty
so
adventure
good.
montage.
It's so good, man. I mean, I feel like this might be this is up there with any of the great Disney Renaissance songs, in my opinion.
It's hard to beat, kids.
I think the animation just goes a long way too, because the animation is very flowing. It really it really shows you all these different kind of heroisms that our heroes are going on, and it's a great way to get all the adventure of the movie out in a short span of time.
I love that we're romanticizing with this sequence. We're romanticizing the adventure.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Later on, we have a ticking clock with Cortez, where he's like he's following the trail that they blaze, and it's like a negative ticking clock. Like, oh God, it's like he's not having any. He's not doing like a jaunty Elton John song,
right.
I mean, that's conveying so simply but so effectively. When he shows up, it ain't going to be a party, kids. It's not going to be good. He's going to do some flogging, kids, and that ain't pretty.
All right.
Also,
so then,
did you catch the flipping the bird to the Lion King shot?
Yeah.
Going over that waterfall. Okay.
All right. So then we get into the big misunderstanding of it all. What do you think of the actual reveal of El Dorado with Chell, and then the guards coming in and them being taken? It being hidden behind the waterfall and everything. Because what I like about it is it's so mysterious and ambiguous that you almost kind of forget how it happens.
Exactly. I love the great big rock of it all, and it makes sense. Like, yeah, why would El Dorado be a lost city if you just follow a map and you get there? Where's the hidden city of it all there? Where's the challenge? Where's the mythicism?
Right.
Yeah, it kind of sets a great tone of I don't know. Again, we reached the end, the logical end of our journey. Okay, we're looking for the treasure. We've reached the end, yet no treasure. It's like, what's happening here? Of course, then we have the epic reveal in Act 2 here of oh God, we're going to El Dorado, and we're gods.
All we found is a big stupid rock.
El Dorado apparently translates to great
rock.
Rock. Miguel, you can have my share of the rock.
All right.
So
yeah, the God misunderstanding, man, that it's handled in such a good way. It's a liar reveal plot line that doesn't really tread tiresome territory.
I know. I love that. It's like a liar reveal where they don't really get called. They get called that one person, mind you. But again, that was like an inevitable.
But the one person is the one person that finds out right away and is on their side, so it's not a big deal.
Sure. I mean, but also you have your antagonist too. That's the thing. It's like those are your only liar.
But the antagonist is meant to find out though, and everyone else doesn't really care. Everyone else, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dragon, but I feel like the chief kind of knows that they're not gods, but it's going along with it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scene.
The guys.
He basically implies he very much knows, but it's we'll get there.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So like I said, it's a liar revealed where the only two people that call them out at all have a very good plot reason to call them out, and it isn't just trying to milk emotion out of us.
Absolutely. So again, with the gods thing. So again, remember the gods misunderstanding is from the real story, where again it's a fun perspective switch on the tragedy. Where I believe it was the again they kind of blended the Mayans and the Aztecs for this movie. I believe the Aztecs are the ones who mistook Cortez for a god. So basically, it's just that horrible, oh God, they mistaken the wrong Spaniard for a god, and it was oh God, he did all sorts of horrible stuff to him. Or in this case, we turn into the ultimate con for the boys. What is the ultimate con? You're thought to be gods. Lightning bolt shoot from my fingertips, sort of God. So yeah, they kind of lucked into it in the pursuit of a fortune. It's kind of literally dropped in their lap. It's got to keep the con going for about 3 days. And so I want to talk about that. I love that there's kind of a question of fate within the story here, where again these guys are either incredibly lucky, or again there is maybe a question of a little bit of a fated thing, like the gods, if they exist within this film, might be smiling upon them at certain points. Where like, why would it all work out for these guys? Because Miguel kind of jokes about fate earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like the volcano divinity kind of speaks for all. Like, how the heck does this like volcano is about to go off and it doesn't? Which, of course, leads to the big misunderstanding of, oh god, they stopped the volcano because they were bickering and they almost fried us all.
All right. So let's see. So that leads into the Chief versus Jekyll Khan.
Yes. So I like that. So the Chief Tani and Jekyll Khan, they are, of course, two wonderful actors. We have Edward James Olmos as the Chief, who is fantastic in this. I love how understated he is. He's this really understated, lovely character. He's
Dragon,
very friendly.
I feel like rewatching it, I appreciated the Chief a lot more because of that kind of understated, like, he sort of knows that they're not gods, but he appreciates the fact that they're good men. You know what I mean?
Precisely, because here's the thing. The whole thing is that the Chief was asking that he was skeptical, and he's asking like why. It's very simple. He's not like saying why should we believe? It's like why did it take you so long? Like, why are you returning now? Very simple question that you would ask if like, oh god, like a messiah of some kind return. Like, hey, why now? What's going on, man?
Sure.
Where again, it's like it's the gods kind of as a symbol. It's kind of giving everybody hope, and more importantly, Miguel, he kind of made everyone's life better. So he's kind of doing the job. They kind of he like. The Chief is in favor of a loving God, where Jekyll Khan is in favor of a vengeful God. And I think people many a time would go on the side of the loving God angle.
You would hope so.
Like he's going for the whole "I love you," the whole Elton John sequence. That's the side Chief Tani's leaning towards, the whole "I believe anything" sequence. That's the thing. Chief Tani's friendly to people. He's patient. He's asking the smart questions, like why now? And I love that he's. Again, it's life. He's all about life versus the sacrifice angle that Jekyll Khan's all about. And his tribute is gold. The whole Xibalba scene really conveys a lot. Where Jekyll Khan, he wants to sacrifice blood and people. Because
I love the fact that we have this giant whirlpool of death that's like in the human sacrifices. That's kind of like a ticking clock. You know what I mean? It really puts kind of like it kind of surprised me how open we were with the human sacrifices rewatching it.
I know, right? You never get away with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's the thing. The Xibalba is like it ties into like the Mayan spirit world. And real fun fact. Traditionally, that took place in caves. Which oddly enough, the Xibalba, once Jekyll Khan falls down there, kind of leads to like caves that leads off into like the water. So it's kind of cool, kind of blending a history there within kind of the spectacle. So I mean, I like the film's about duos, and again, this duo really speaks so much about the perception of gods and like the way to interpret. And again, kind of here's the thing: it's in a comedy, but still, it's like kind of a really clever take on how people perceive religious iconography, or like the interpretation of things. Because Jekyll Khan's, to transition to him a little bit here, again, he's all about the Mayan sacrifice with kind of the Aztec supernatural angle as a high priest. And with the God's Return, this year, like this moment for him means it's the year of the Jaguar, which means I was right. They returned this year, which means all about blood sacrifice. This is awesome for me, man. Yeah. And essentially that means he gets a promotion to be the new chief in essence. I mean, he's the head honcho because, again, if the gods are back and they're on his side, that means he's the de facto, like, next to godliness. Right, which is a major win for him. Again, I think they both. I like that Chief Tani and Jekyll Khan represent both Miguel and Tulio to an extent.
Yeah, sure.
Chief Tani's like Miguel, obviously, and it's like, what if Miguel stayed? He'd become Chief Tani. He'd become like the next chief of El Dorado, essentially, just with the God moniker. And Jekyll Khan's like Tulio's greed, but greed unchecked, or he'd be a slippery slope of power hungriness, where he'd be all crazy and like devouring people's essence piece by piece, as it were, which is not pretty and all spidery and icky.
All right. So Jacob points out "It's Tough to Be a God" is a great song, which I absolutely agree with. I think it's fantastic.
I also like that the people of El Dorado, they're not rubes, but they're innocents. They're uncorrupted by the world, given that they're so separated from society.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. All right, so let's move on to the sequence that we lovingly call Shell Dorado.
Yes, the lovely Rosie Perez, kids, in a role that actually lets her do stuff.
All right, so I really, really like it. This is just very efficient screenplay writing here, Dragon, where the main characters are off on different trajectories. One has fallen in love with the city, one has fallen in love with the girl. Both have kind of abandoned their original motivation. And it's great. It really just kind of like diverts the classic plot where it's like we think they're gonna fight over the gold, right, Dragon? We think that they're gonna fight over the gold and
Yeah.
that they're gonna fight over the
Real treasure the Sierra Madre stuff.
right, exactly. But no, we don't go that direction at all. Instead, we have the gold almost becomes like an afterthought in the movie, which I love. I love that the two real valuable things in the movie become the person and becomes the city itself.
Absolutely. And to speak to Chell herself a little bit here, of course, Chell, one, great character design too. She's gorgeous, but importantly, I love that she's not just eye candy. You know,
No, absolutely not. She's very much her own independent character, where she has motivations entirely apart from our lead guys too.
Yeah, I mean, she's again, she's also a schemer on the same level as Tullio to an extent,
Right,
and I love that.
right.
Again, she's in some sense of the word using kind of the Jimmy McGill comparison. Really, she's kind of the Kim Wexler of El Dorado.
She's absolutely the Kim Wexler of El Dorado.
She's in the know, and she's the cheat sheet for how things work in El Dorado for him, like the whole and she baba. She knows how Chibalba works. But I love, again, we have all these priceless reaction shots where she's in the know, like, okay, don't trust this Ethel Khan guy behind Tullio, but Tullio's not seeing it, or the whole, like, to Chibalba, and she's saying, like, no, to Chibalba. I'm like, oh, great.
Dragon, I think Ratcliffe from Pocahontas would have a heart attack at that Tushi Balba scene.
Yeah, he would.
All the gold being thrown in the river! No!
Yep. And again, also the whole Chell and Tullio relationship. It's ambitious and really edgy. You would not see this at Disney, kids. I mean, they
oh, it's super edgy. I was shocked. Oh man, I mean, they straight up have like a
pretty much.
like they have been doing it, no question about it. There's no ambiguity. The only ambiguity you get is if you don't understand how being in bed works.
Exactly, and I love the whole. Again, it's like the whole Chell Dorado of it all, just the namesake of it all, is the whole like like Chell. What is the whole little voice runner with Miguel? The little voice runner, the little voice would say right now. Imagine if you had one. Chell is off limits because again, Chell complicates the partnership and the friendship, which basically would lead to a diverging path. But yet, I love that the movie is not putting anything on Chell negatively. She's not Yoko. She's not Yoko Ono by any stretch.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah.
Which was a thin line they could have fallen on, but thank goodness they didn't. Because that would be that would complicate the simplicity. Man falls in love with the city, as you said, and man falls in love with kind of the distraction.
Mm-hmm.
The con,
I feel like this is also, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also a usual plot point in the Road 2 movies, right? Like the girl kind of complicates things.
Yet again, like a wonderful throwback. Again, I remember many respects is kind of my intro to what the road movie formula is. I really kind of
absolutely. I've never actually sat down and watched a proper Road 2 movie, Dragon. It's that and then the Family Guy Road 2 things.
Well, I mean, sure, I have those, but I mean, also, essentially, White Christmas is a Road 2 movie, just set around the holidays.
Well, sure. Yeah. I guess that's my main. Yeah.
I hear you, though.
All right.
Yeah, so of course Miguel fall in love with the city. This is where we got I think one of the most beautiful sequences in the movie, and there's a lot of great stuff. Of course, we should, because Jacob brought it up earlier. We should also talk about it's tough to be a god, but it's the watermelon gag cracks me up in that too, where we see like the sacrificial, like the guys who looks like they're going to cut off a head or something. It's watermelons,
right?
One of the hardest things for them to do in the movie, by the way, because Kevin Kline and Kenneth Branagh, while they can sing, it was hard for them to sing an Elton John song.
Mm-hmm.
Elton John having written it and everything. But yeah, Miguel falling in love with the city, the whole "Without Question" song. I think it's more to me. It's going to sound all corny and cheesy. It's one of those beautiful sequences in the movie. Just seeing a man. This is like all the research trip stuff. It's like the anthem to the research trip. That's pretty much.
No, absolutely. I love it. And as a travel enthusiast, like I am absolutely in Miguel's shoes in this movie all the way through. Just like falling in love with a different culture and all it has to offer. This beautiful landscape around you, and it's great, Dragon. And the animation does kind of take your breath away.
Again, as everything comes together, because you can see the warmth and the charm on Miguel here, where he has the heart of an innocent who's falling in love with the culture around him. And again, the gold dominoes bit always gets me, because again, you see like that happy face where it's like, oh, look what they did for him. They helped him set up all these dominoes. They're like, hey, knock it over. And also, this is Kenneth Branagh is so man. This one's on it. Kenneth Branagh, many people know him as the director and all the other stuff that he's done. Of course, he's been in Tenet and everything. But like Kenneth Branagh though. The moment he has, like, when he's seeing the streets are being cleansed, he sees the guards, the Jaguar guards accosting that poor guy. He says, hey, no, I don't need your gold, man. It's okay. Just, like, don't be afraid. And it's, like, it's so beautiful. And now he kind of wins that guy over with the music and everything. It's just such a... You buy the love.
Sure.
Of course, Tulio dealing with Zekel Khan, too. You lost me, Zek, with the whole creepy sales pitch.
I like how with Zekel Khan, it's like he's a little bit of a subversion in that nobody really ever takes him seriously as anything but a villain.
Yeah. It's just so clever to me that he's actually reading the way things were supposed to go in the movie with the whole, like, wait, there's this whole Cortez is a god thing. Where is this? Where is he?
Right. Okay.
Also, I'm sorry, real quick before we get into the ballgame. Spielberg loved the Miguel and Tulio editing, by the way, the whole don't even move sequence. Like, don't even move for 3 days!
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay,
so the ball game to me is probably the most memorable sequence in the whole movie.
For sure. I mean, it's one of the big tent pole for sure.
I think I think the sport itself is like I love how understandable it is. Dragon, you and I we are not sports ball fans by any means. Is that safe to say?
It's absolutely safe to say.
But I think it's great that this scene in particular can really just be like, okay, see that impossibly high hoop? See this concrete ball? Go. That's all you need to know. It's not like Quidditch where there's a ridiculous amount of rules, or it's not like the pro bending where the rules are just kind of vague. It's just this is like a great, and of course it's based on a historical sport as well, which is all the better.
The Mayan ball game. Yeah.
Yes, and by the way, Dragon, they did a Survivor challenge based on this in the season set in Guatemala.
Really?
Yes.
So basically, So what we've done here is so brilliant. We've given Miguel and Tulio this impossible. Miguel just having a happy little ball game with children is now escalated because now Tulio has foolishly brought Zekel Khan by accident, and now there's an impossible odds of 15 giant bruisers versus two guys, and if they lose, that means they get caught because, as Chell says, gods don't lose.
Right.
So they are boned beyond boned, and then they end up again. The logical thing, like, how the heck are they going to get out? It's logically the con men pull a con with the armadillo. We got to talk about the armadillo.
Yeah, the armadillo, I mean, I don't have much to say about it, but it is a nice kind of like, I feel like the only reason it exists is because of this scene, but hey, it's a nice kind of marketable character,
I like that we set up in the trail we blazed, though. He's like a little guy eating a fish.
Sure.
Like, hey, look, we got a little friend. So that's cute. And also, some people have speculated that the armadillo was actually a god.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, it's always a little fan theory that they were talking about making it official in the movie, but it never happened. So people have theorized like maybe that was the actual god all along, doing working the magic like the volcano and stuff.
Interesting. Okay, I like that theory. I don't know.
Of course, kind of helps him out,
but I like it.
Right. Well, you can take it for what you will. It's a fan theory, but
Yeah.
So let's see. So of course, the big payoff of this whole sequence is epic with Kenneth Branagh here. Kenneth Branagh as Miguel. He tells Zekel Khan off, because again, our
God, 15... this is such a great build-up, man. Because of course we've had like the ticking clock with the human sacrifices, and every time the human sacrifices have been like remotely brought up, it's been kind of like like the subject is just very much like a sticking point. And I love how this one moment, you can kind of feel the historical precedence of it. You know what I mean, Dragon? Like, you can feel how important this moment is to the people involved.
It is, because again, there's always been an edge with the gods before they kind of get the full loving god angle from Miguel. And also, I love that it wasn't just like a one-sided thing where Tully's like, screw these people. It was never like that, because you have this great bit earlier on when they were going to sacrifice the first guy instead of, instead of the gold.
Right.
And like Tully said, I don't like this, Miguel. So you get a sense like Tully, they're both very unified. This is not good. This is really creepy stuff, and the whole piece by piece thing to not sell Tulio anymore. And basically Miguel he's vocalizing it more than Tulio would like, though, in an epic speech, which is great. Well, no more sacrifices. And I love Kenneth Branagh's speechifying when it's written well, and this is it.
Oh yeah. And of course Kenneth Branagh, a classic Shakespearean actor, so like, this is totally his wheelhouse.
I know. But again, I love, man, I'm a sucker for people saving people. I was like, him's like, no more sacrifices, no more of this fear-based stuff. I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
No one else. And of course, like, you don't belong here. And of course, we have one of my all-time favorite, honestly, one of my favorite bits. The bit I took most from this movie, because it came back in Iron Man 2, and I've always remembered from this film. The gods don't bleed moment is always stuck with me from this film.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's such
I use this analogy all the time.
Yeah. It's a great piece of tension. Then that absolutely is very understated but very hard hitting at the same time.
And it's that great punctuation of Zekel Khan's not finished here. You didn't get rid of Zekel Khan. You made a big problem. Whereas, and again, importance of blood when used to the film, not excessive blood, but just the right amount of blood. It comes. I mean, it gets awfully bloody for an animated movie. My God, it's plot blood, man. You need that blood.
Oh.
It's I love the rationale. This is what I also respect about the movie. You never know why would the gods be so bloodthirsty? Why all the sacrifice? And again, the rationale from Zekel Khan is perfect. You know why the gods need sacrifices? Because gods don't bleed. Which, again, that being his tell, like that's the perfect visual cue. Like he knows he's not a god because he bleeds. Like, yes, that's ingenious.
Oh yeah.
All right. Back through where all the action happens.
Okay, so yeah, the Jaguar. This is like the most Bluthian thing in the movie. When you say just this, and it's also pretty good CGI, if I do say so myself.
I think the Jaguar effect looks really good. It's a great act. We have this great action set.
It's definitely one of the more memorable pieces of imagery in the movie.
And again, we're doing the liar reveal via the action versus like the convention of, the whole people, they all like, you lied to us, and they're getting all weepy and they're turning them away, and later on they're going to make none of that BS is in here, man. It's just like liar reveal and that, oh God, if we're found out, bad stuff's going to happen. Again, as Tulio said earlier, on one hand, gold. On the other hand, painful, agonizing failure, as in painful, agonizing failure in the form of giant jaguars going to kill us. Also love that Miguel and Tulio are at their most vulnerable because they're kind of ticked off at each other now. So this is
and I like what I like about the sequence is that they can they can go into the back and forth dynamic, the con dynamic they have with each other. Basically like a fake sword fight but on a bigger scale. And then they can also stay mad. You know what I mean? That just goes to show kind of like both the lengths of their friendship and also kind of like how good their partnership is that they can do this even under all the pressure.
Yeah, something absolutely. Again, they're fueling from their real lives on that one to kind of sell the con even more so. Again, I love that everything comes back with the loaded dice con, with that, and the Shibaba of it all, where again it's like nothing is wasted. We use Shibaba to get rid of the con, and it works. Also, I love that I love the symbolism of the Jaguar. Zekel Khan becomes godlike after his trust has been violated by the Khan of Miguel and Tulio, and it's becoming one with the city, literalized, where it's metaphorically done with Miguel. So like Zekel Khan's literally become one with a structure from the city. All right. So then we have like the goodbyes. The friends never say goodbye, if at all.
Oh God, Dragon, and it's just the shot that really impacts me the most is Miguel putting on like the the finery, the headpiece and the cape, and looking in the mirror and just like the reflection, like this isn't me. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to go with it. He's trying to go with the God angle, and he is a good person to the people. but he's losing himself, and I think that's a really powerful piece of imagery there. It's very adult.
Absolutely. Again, you know what's so great about that sequence? They don't look at each other in the entire sequence.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the big heavy-hitting parts of the entire montage.
Kind of like in Toy Story 3, you have that really memorable bit where Woody won't shake Buzz's hand. It's just it breaks your heart, you know? And again, it's again, friends never say goodbye because it's such a painful thing, and the fact that again it's even more tragic that they're just like on such bad terms in the parting here. And again, like it's basically Tullio broke his own con, which again, not a Yoko thing, but he crossed the line. And that logically, if Tullio has Chell, Miguel has a perfect out to stay in El Dorado. So story-wise, again, it all comes to fruition in the narrative here, where Miguel has no reason to go to it. He's not going to be alone, and Miguel can stay. And again, we had that lovely scene with Chief Tani that makes Miguel staying seem like a really nice option, where it's like, it's such a beautiful scene, right? When he's saying, like, the boat needs more rope, and Lord Miguel, you don't have to go if you don't want to. And that's where he intimates that he knows. To err is human, right? And then, of course, it's like, oh, he knows. He's got to know.
Like I said, Dragon, it's so understated that it's like he respects the fact that they're good men, and I find that beautiful, I find that beautiful in a way.
And, like, they're not really asking for any ridiculous thing outside of the boat, mind you. And, again, I think it's calling the boat. Right. Here's the thing, though. Here's what I love about it. The people of El Dorado, they're so nice. And it's the fact they have gold to spare. They don't care if the gold's missing. They don't care about the gold. Like, it's gold coming off the walls. They're fine with it. And, again, it's the fact that they gave him hope. They gave him a taste of hope with the gods coming back. So that's why Chief Tani's all cool with it. I love it.
Sure.
All right, so again, they're kind of embracing their personality traits and their destinies. Miguel for the adventure, Tullio with the gold, with the giant boat full of gold. So that's kind of where they kind of stay on the goodbyes. But then there's a complication.
Yeah, and this is where the movie really kind of gets interesting with the actual historical accuracies of it all.
Yes,
like we kind of cross bridges into real life history here.
Yes, where Cortez, again, he's following. It's like, what if, okay, it's like, imagine this was really heady. Like, now what if what led Cortez to the horrific stuff that happened in El Dorado was something really funny?
Now, what I love about this, Dragon, is that there's no real time to say goodbye. You know what I mean? There's an urgency here. Like, we spend so much time with them building up individually their connections to El Dorado, and that when the time comes to put their asses on the line, we don't even have time to think about the fact that they're never going to see El Dorado again. That this is it. They're putting everything on the line for this one moment to save this place that they've fallen in love with, even though the very action of doing so is going to lock them out of this place forever. That's such good stakes, Dragon. Such good stakes.
Absolutely. I love that this has to happen because Miguel and Tullio, they don't learn anything if they get to stay or keep the gold.
Yeah,
totally, they don't learn anything if they haven't. So it speaks to them growing such a true respect for El Dorado by doing the right thing. Again, despite their con men. Again, con men with hearts of gold. Literally hearts of gold in a sense. And by crashing the gates, and like there's no going back. And of course, I love that Zekel Khan teamed up with Cortez essentially with all that build up, having that. It's just I just love it. It's just dread to like the build up of Cortez to the dread to the happy go lucky film. Oh no, Cortez is going to make history happen. Oh no.
Oh God.
Of course, we bring back everything. Tullio with the mock-ups and the armadillo providing the solution with the whole he's drinking the water and he floods. Like, yeah, we got to crash the gate.
Uh-huh.
They do a big sequence, and then of course we have our ending after we've saved the day.
Yeah, and the ending is essentially just kind of like, well, what do we do now? What road is this going to take us down? Let's find out. And I like that, Dragon. It's very open-ended. It's very optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, it's fittingly circular on every end. El Dorado is back to being its mythical status of like
I love how big of a payoff the whole wow, now that was an adventure is. You know what I mean? That's cathartic. It's cathartic.
And Tullio's crying over the gold, but like, oh well, there's more gold to find, I guess.
Right.
And again, like the friendship is intact. They have Shell and El Tivo on their side again. It's like, again, they went in search of a fortune and adventure, and they're going to find it elsewhere in those sequels that we'll never see. But that doesn't matter. It's the El Tivo got
Maybe
some gold.
one day on Netflix, Dragon. One day on Netflix.
I mean, El Tivo got the gold.
DreamWorks has that
end.
deal with Netflix.
I mean, it speaks of her. The horse got the gold in the end. That's fitting. The horse got the gold. We don't have a map. We don't have a plan. That's the fun, says Shell, and trail we blaze. Again, we end on essentially on the trail we blaze. Perfect.
I think Jacob sums it up perfectly. The adventure was the gold.
Ah, yes.
Absolutely, Jacob. Well said. Well said.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay, final thoughts on my end, Dragon. I mean, this thing is perfect, man. It's pretty much like the emblem of what an animation studio can do when they really fire on all cylinders. I just think the casting, the characters, the script, the set pieces, the colors, I mean, it all just works in tandem with each other with a kick-ass soundtrack to boot. I mean, I don't know how people feel about this movie that didn't grow up with it, but I do know that for people who grew up with it, it's just absolutely just untouchable. And as far as memorable movies are concerned. So
yeah, so history, at the end of the day, my final thoughts here is like the kind of legacy of it all is that history was unkind to this film when it was released. I love that El Dorado, in a sense, it kind of became its namesake. It was lost gold for the ages. And thankfully, now history has rewarded us and rewarded it in a sense. It's an unfortunate tragedy of how, you got to remember, this was a climate animation where, unfortunately, the tragedy was these films, these like the well-done 2D animated films with like some 3D elements, but the 2D films, like Your Emperor's New Grooves, this, and so on and so forth, they contributed to that misnomer, that there was a misnomer in the industry that hand-drawn was passé. Because it was 2D,
yeah.
Because it was 2D, it bombed. Which is not the case, and that basically CG animation, like it or not, is the future, and we can't do anything outside of that, which of course took years to dispel that. We still need some work to really truly dispel that, but the point is, like, we've kind of like, at least we got a Princess and the Frog in the bank to say, well, hey, see? So the underappreciated thing about this film is it's good. It's fun, entertaining. It's not complicated or going for like huge with the scale. It's like, we need a big draw, like all this splendor, all this spectacle. It's a good movie. It's casual splendor in the adventure getting there. It celebrates when movies were fun before it became a business. It's all the people involved love working on this project, because again, this was like, everyone's working on Prince of Egypt. This is like, these are animators getting to do what they do best, and creatives getting to do what they do best, just having fun with the movie. And it's like, oh my god, that's great, that came out great, how wonderful is that? It's a throwback to the simpler model of the buddy comedy, and a great bridging device of it all, with the kind of the Road to formula. It kind of, I'd love to think this introduces a younger generation into looking up the classics and the buddy comedies and the road movie idea. That's what it did for me. I hope it could do that for generations 20 years later still,
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching this, folks. Big thanks to Clark Ringa, Jacob Weil, and Lunar Moonflower in the comments here. Lunar Moonflower. It's a quality movie. Yeah, absolutely it is Lunar Moonflower. You got that right. You can say that twice. All right, Dragon, take us out with a quote.
You'll find my blade loquacious to a fault.
Thank you, sir.